the very bottom, this is amazing. Total expenses year to date, 531,766. Total budget, 531,738. So within $28. I don't know if that's a fraction of a percent. So that's we're right on budget, and that's including the loan being paid, because technically we would have had 2 months of the loan payment, December and January. So really, without that, we would have been under budget by a little bit. Absolutely, and then as Eleanor and Keith just saw, the bill signed the check for the retirement is as high as it is, $87,546. Last year, the good news is they told us it was going to be $95,598. So it's actually like $8,500 in our favor, as we had talked about, I think. So it worked out well, and you could see we budgeted, I think, $96,000. So for next month's meeting, when you see that hit, we'll be under budget on that line by like $8,500 or so.
Great.
So that worked out well. And more or less, so that's where we're at. We're just continuing on. And Matt and I did a really quick potential budget for next year, just using what a 2% increase would look like. And it's kind of amazing, because with a 2% increase, even though on the tax levy, the budget would actually go down by a few $1,000s because the loan is out. So it's kind of weird how it looks, because last year we had the loan for $60,284, so the budget was $1,312,000. This year, with a 2% increase, the total budget would be only $1,306,000. So the total budget would actually be going down with a 2% increase, and then the money that was in the loan, now we can allocate it to other lines. So we kind of have that spread in there, and the line all the way on the right is the increase. And then you could see the areas where, tentatively we just put some of the money there now where areas that we thought we would need increases. And you could see the reserve appropriation. Last year it was $30,000, this year it's $0, so that went down 30. So we're not, using savings. And then on the very bottom, you see the loan was 60, now it's 0, so that went down 60.
So we've been staying within the 2%. I'm sorry. What are you doing?
No, yeah,
I mean,
sure,
we've been
absolutely.
staying within 2% limit but we were using reserve appropriation.
Right,
We
absolutely.
were cutting down our savings each year.
Right.
So we might actually be able to not cut any savings this year.
Right. Because really last year we had the loan of 60, and then we were counting on we might have had to have used 30 reserve. So now with the loan being gone, and we're not going to use the 30, we're really plus 30. So we're plus 30, and then if we got a 2% increase, that would be another almost 25. So then roughly, if you add up all these increases, it's roughly 55,000 of, other lines that would be increased. Especially the ones that we know, the health insurance, the retirement's going to go down, but the health insurance and the salary increase, and then books. And then I think I added, this is just throwing it out really quick. We added more money to professional services because we had depleted from that last year or taken some away. So we thought maybe it would make sense to add a little bit more back.
And I just want to mention, this is very preliminary. Tonight we need to come up with a subcommittee, a budget committee to work on this with a little more depth. We just wanted to present something to get the conversation started. But
Good.
Yeah, just a starting point, like Matt says. It's just, it's ultimately up to you guys. But just throwing around the areas where we know we're going to probably need increases. And it would be nice if we could have the books, start to go in an uptrend again. I think last year we added a little bit back, but they're still not. They're almost flat from where they were 5 years ago, especially in real dollars. So it'd be nice if, if we had a little funds to add to that. And then, you could just tinkering with it to areas where it would be nice to have some increases.
Don't we have to increase the salaries and wages line this coming year for assistant director?
We already have an assistant director.
a assistant to the director, I guess.
If we might increase the hours.
Right.
If we make it full time.
Isn't Eleanor reducing her hours?
I think we're talking about a separate position at this point. Would not be when we say. I think we're confusing assistant director. We're talking about a slightly
That's
different
civil service
position.
title.
The
Right,
one
that's
we've
why.
discussed at past meetings to help
Right.
out.
That would be another.
Right, that's a different
addition.
title.
Okay.
So we
It's
would
not
have to.
civil service.
Right.
Step on it.
And the election line needs a bump.
Okay, yeah, so obviously, this is just getting started, we're gonna have
Alright.
to,
Okay.
the election line. I left that for now flat, but we could add to that.
Can I just have two questions about your report, not the budget?
Sure,
Before we
sure.
get too further afield. The 804,273 takes us to
Oh,
September 2015?
well, we have one more check coming for 10% of the total, which is like another almost 125,000.
Okay,
And then that plus this would get us till next September,
September 30th?
right? When we
Okay.
get the full check, other than the TAN, but the
Mhm.
next tax levy check would be next September, after the
Okay.
one in March. So
Okay.
really, if you added the one in March in another 125, we have almost 960,000.
Okay.
get
And the
us
10
through.
you
To get
get,
us through the next 9 months.
Right, which kind of, it almost works out to 100 a month.
Yeah.
Right,
And the 10 would
The
be
10?
approximately the same amount that we've been getting.
yes,
which is when do you get that?
in July. We
July
got it
1st.
earlier than normal this past year, like a month earlier. I think it was in July.
And what, so it was 200?
200, yeah.
Okay. And the other question is, since we did not have to pay the 96 to the state retirement, what are we doing with the money that we have?
Yeah, we're
we
saving
putting it?
8,000 on there. We're only
Right.
gonna pay 87 and change, so that's still in the bank right
It's
now.
just
'Cause we
sitting
can
there
apply-
In the fund,
and
yep.
move it around.
Mhm.
We can apply that to books. Like on a monthly basis, what do you put out for books?
Almost 3,000 for adult, 250 for teen, and 1,000 for juvenile.
So,
So
that,
we-
that could be books for next year. That we could, if we earmark those funds
Sure.
to add to books.
Yeah, I guess depending on what the retirement fund's gonna be next year.
Well, they're already saying it should be down again next year.
Down again, okay.
But when I put this together, I just used 90 just to,
Yeah,
Make
the
it work.
safe side, split
Right.
the difference
Mhm.
between what they said for this year and what we actually paid, so just,
right. And then hopefully next year at this time, we'll get another 10,000 in our favor when the bill comes, so
hopefully.
hopefully. Right, but yes, that'd be a great idea for
Yeah,
books.
it would, yeah.
Right,
But
We
we
are a
may have,
library and-
we may have some more unforeseen.
Well, right, I mean, I don't know what else we
We're
have
not
to
sure
spend
yet.
money on, but the fact that we aren't buying books and it's a library.
Yeah, that looks
That's
very,
kinda weird.
yeah.
With restricted
But-
shelf space too.
Yeah, well, this is true.
When on the other side of the equation, we have been dipping into our reserve fund every year for the last several years.
Right, we don't wanna do that
And-
anymore.
Yeah, we can avoid
This
that.
will enable us to stop doing that. And
Yeah.
we also anticipate some expenses associated with the possibility of moving ahead with a referendum. And that's gonna take money that was not in our budget as well.
Mm.
So we certainly have expenses.
It's gonna be a interesting task to
Yeah.
generate next year's budget. The other thing too is, audit, huh? And the other thing too is, the OSC is really pushing to have annual audits.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to actually,
And how much was that when we did
Quite a
it?
bit
It
of
was a
money.
couple
Almost
$1,000,
10.
right? It was 8, 7,
Almost
8?
8 to 10.
yeah, almost not, around 9.
and we
think,
skipped a
somewhere.
year, so it depends on
Yeah.
whether they're gonna,
That's right.
It could be up
So
to
it
10.
probably is a good idea to do it right before, because it's going to be a thing, didn't it become a thing to get a bond and everything, we'd have to have an audit anyway,
Right,
so we would have to make a budget, we would have to budget for that.
right. And again, we add, temporarily, we added 10 more to the professional fees, but you can see that if we did the audit plus the stuff with the new
Yeah.
potential new building, that even 10 might
That
not be
just goes
enough.
by, yeah.
Right, so really the whole bottom line could be that even 2% really might not be that adequate. It sounds like a lot because we're kind of living off the loan being paid off, but you see how quickly that gets depleted with all these other
Absolutely, sure.
lines that
Good.
add up.
Are there other people to hire than the ones we were hiring for the audit? I only bring it up.
Professional fees in terms of,
Well, because we had such
Mhm.
trouble with them the last time we used
oh,
them.
yeah, there's plenty of people.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Just didn't know what our options were.
Mhm.
although they did do it last time.
They
And there's-
did, but it
there's-
was a big tug of war afterward, and it was.
It
they were
also
very professional.
can go either way, because you have people that have been doing audits for a particular library for 40 years, and they don't catch things because they did the same as last
Mhm.
year.
Mm.
Yeah,
Whereas
right.
new
Yeah.
things are
No, I
coming,
mean,
so-
I think mixing it up every couple of years is smart anyway.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the fact that we had an issue with them last time, I think we should
I
get
got some
someone
good
else.
names from,
Okay.
Mm.
And maybe we might save money going to someone different too.
The people that we just used for the one,
The
the
people
very
we used
last
for the
one?
last
Couple years
audit, we
ago.
had a
Years,
problem
yes.
with,
Yeah.
remember?
What was the problem?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember
They-
the details, I just remember it was a lot of tug of war back and forth, and
Yeah,
it wasn't very professional.
Yeah, they were being petty about like
Yeah,
the
it was
$20
very
backup
nitpicky
missing from the,
about, yes,
right,
and
right.
they held up paperwork and they didn't print enough copies for all of us to see, and then they didn't produce them when we wanted them, and it cost us quite a bit of money
Right,
to get that kind of nonsense from somebody.
right.
So, I didn't mean to I just, sorry, I went off on a tangent, I just, we're gonna, made me think of it, and I
Right.
didn't wanna forget it.
And then the answer line, we added to that because we know we hadn't, right, Matt, we talked about the answer.
Yeah,
So I figured just 3,000, who knows if that's right or not, but it's gotta be something added, cause that hadn't gone up in a few years.
Is that because of the
Um,
the
state.
That new fee that they have too, the membership fee, or what's that one
That's,
that,
Oh, isn't
that's
it-
a separate thing.
yeah,
That's not related to the state contributing?
$16 or something we had this one?
That was, it was 3,000, now it's 1,500.
I know RCLS had some concerns because they're going through a audit from the OSC, and part of what might come down is they actually have to go through a proper bidding process. They can't just go, we want Dell Optiplex 3020s for our computers.
Mhm.
They have to go, we want a computer that has this CPU, this memory, this. That's what their concern is. So they're not
Mhm.
sure at this point whether they're going to be. And I'm not talking for them. I'm just saying I've heard that.
You've heard that this
Yeah,
is what
yeah.
they're-
So I mean, I would expect that the OSC would see the value of having consistent machines because
Sure.
that's what RCLS has been doing for years,
Yeah.
decades even probably. So, and that's what people do in big business is to
Mhm.
standardize on machines, and you save money
Right,
and
so
support
everybody
costs that
uses
way.
the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. So naming an Optiplex 3020 makes sense.
Mhm.
Whether the OSC is going to swing that way
Mhm.
is,
Yeah.
remains to be seen. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we're going to do an audit in time to, in preparation for a possible referendum, when should the audit be done?
It's gonna take a
Spring.
while.
Well, it's going to be at the end of the year, regardless. It always
Right.
happens after the end of the year. So,
Right.
Well, we would need
if
to.
if you finish closing the books in mid-August, let's say,
Right.
they'll be out here the last 2 weeks in August
Right.
So, but we
And
would
then
need
get
to make
report
the
on it.
selection of an auditor
between now and then.
between now and then, so
Yeah.
that it takes place.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about, 2-week time period of
Yeah, they spend
them
2
coming in
weeks
and
here
looking at the
going through
books.
everything.
Hey,
and-
is that what
And
they?
then they take a couple of, what does it take them, 2 weeks or a month or something to do all the work
Yeah.
and produce a report? I
Yeah,
think
it should be
the
somebody
whole
who
thing's
turns
pretty-
around pretty quickly because
Yeah,
it's
that's
really.
the other thing, it
Oh,
turns
yeah.
around pretty quick
I mean, part of the problem last time was they had somebody that
and.
knew what they were doing, but they were treating us like a full-fledged business,
Mm-hmm.
and there was no give and take
Mm-hmm.
for things like I think there was one invoice that was misplaced, and then while they were here,
misfiled, yeah.
Jack found it,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and it was a pittance, so it's less than $100 something
Right.
like that. But they were like, you couldn't find the paperwork, so there's a
Right.
control process. It's like
Right, oh yeah, and they wrote up a
it
whole
was a
thing
mistake.
about
It was
that.
a,
And then there was one credit card that 3 different departments used, and
right,
there was like generated an entire report about, I'm like, okay, you
Right.
know what? If they don't get the library, this particular group we had did not understand
right.
how a library works.
but the higher ups came in and said.
I know, but then when we
Yeah.
had to, we
It
actually
was
had
more
to
work
have
for
a
everybody's
meeting. Do you
chain,
remember?
yeah.
Were you here for that?
Yeah,
I don't remember.
yeah,
We had to have a meeting and like,
Mhm.
Go
and
go
it
over
was, she was
the
so
laundry list.
defensive, and we just like, you know what, alright, whatever. Let's just not do this next year. So,
Yeah.
because we just,
I don't remember, I'm trying to remember when all this happened.
what is it, 3 years ago?
3 years ago,
We
'cause
didn't
it
do
was,
it 2 years now, right? It's 2 years we didn't do it.
it was 2000, the audit
Frank
period
was here.
Frank was
I
here.
think it was
Frank
my
was
first
here.
year here, but I don't remember the.
Yeah.
It was in
I was,
2011,
maybe
and
it
it was
was-
for the June 30th, 2010 fiscal year.
Right, oh, so it's a
Right.
while ago,
It's
yeah.
been a while.
Right.
Yeah, it's been
Right,
a
it's
while.
been a few years. Yeah, and then they questioned why the checks were out of order because we printed the paychecks
Right,
with one date, and then we printed the expense checks.
Right.
Like something like it doesn't really
Because
make
you pre-printed the paychecks.
with a Thursday date, and then
right,
the other
and then you paid the rest of the bills, so the date on the
right.
check.
But the
Check
date
number
yeah.
2 had a date that was before the check number 1.
Right.
And there was no explaining any of this. It was
Right.
like you have to do it this way, and there's no.
Right, and Rob Schultz was fine with everything we were doing, so it
Yeah,
was,
right,
you
well,
know,
that's just,
it was just not even an issue.
Which,
I-
which actually speaks to, all right, yeah, I understand you want better controls, you want to be able to not have this be a problem later
Right.
on, we'll take it into account, but
Yeah,
but
I
it's like
think
predating
the
your own personal checkbook.
The problem I think that you had with them, I had with them, you had with them, was that they kind of missed the point.
Yeah.
The point was, is the money coming in and going where we're saying it's going?
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Jack is them driving a Ferrari, and we're all like wondering how come we don't have children's books. You know, I mean, it's not like that. And we didn't
Right,
have any of
right.
those problems. And but they got nitpicky and
And
Right.
defensive.
we did have a review last year, was it? Or
Yes,
2 years?
last year,
We did the
From
woman
the
from the
OSC,
state,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And she was fine. I spent the whole day with her, and she left very happy. Oh, you guys are doing a good job, especially
Right.
considering
So
a
whereas,
relatively
whereas
small
the,
library.
the audit that we pay for will be about finances and are you solvent.
Sure.
The controller audit is actually about controls.
Sure.
Controller, sorry, is about the control systems we have in place.
Right,
So
right.
so their
We
eye will
get
actually
two
be closer
signatures
to
on
what they
this,
were
yeah.
looking for. Yeah.
Right.
So, but we went through that one just fine so far. So,
Mhm.
but we've got at NILA, there's a bunch more policies that OSC has since recommended we put in place, and
Mhm.
really there's a bunch more we can put in place pretty easily. So.
So, the action item,
Oh, sorry, I really took the meeting away from you, didn't I?
no, I just, wanna make sure we're clear, is it Matt's gonna find an auditor, or how do
Oh,
we
yeah.
go about getting an auditor?
I actually have no idea, but you said you had some recommendations?
Yeah, we'll sort of bid it out, you know.
Yeah,
we'll
I-
get a few names
Do
in.
we have to bid
Well,
that out? For-
I
it's
don't
not
think
a lot
it doesn't
enough
have
money.
to be, but it's,
Yeah.
you know, we can ask around anyway,
We
just get
could,
a
yeah.
ballpark of what.
Right,
I think that's what we
I
did
think
last.
that's what we,
Right.
and
Well-
recommendations too, like, oh, these guys are great, they
Right.
get libraries, you know, something like that is what we're looking for.
Yeah,
We
I'll
have
go
a,
through.
we have a table of, costs where bidding is a requirement, no?
Right,
Isn't
8,000
that-
is under it.
I think it's
Okay.
like 20,000?
Right.
Something like that,
So-
yeah, 20 or 25.
And you don't have to, with professional services, you don't have to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
But we often will do it just to get a sense of it, you know.
What the market
Right,
price is
right.
charging,
At least that's how we did it the last time.
All right.
But I'll ask around and
Okay.
get some recommendations.
Okay, and we'll have it for the next meeting? Okay.
Alrighty.
Oh, the treasurer's report.
Yes.
Thank you, Jack.
Is-
Aren't you glad you brought it up?
That's, future, discussion down here, no?
Yes.
You-
down
Does anybody have any more questions for Jack? If not, may I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report? Motion made by Ellen Mary, seconded by Nancy. Just wanna call you Norma for some reason. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
One thing I want to ask, because we're talking about from the fiscal
Yes,
resources
yeah,
committee,
I don't know what it is, it's mental
is
block.
you know, we're supposed to send 25K a year for repairs, for capital repairs, basically. So I just want to I know we talked about it before, but formally just ask that we just have a list of find out what we spent this year
Mm-hmm.
and towards capital repairs, and what we didn't spend last year, anything left over, because we're going to take all that and put it towards, I think the windows is the next thing we're
I
repairing.
think you're right,
Mhm.
Dennis,
Yeah.
especially
And-
moving back.
And
Yeah.
even if, and we're close enough, probably the repairs will be done after March, after the snow.
Sure.
So-
Yeah, I don't
so
think you can do it now.
Really, we can, if it happens to run over for whatever reasons, that amount of those 2 years, we might actually tap into next year's budget as well, the 25K for next year, so.
Yeah.
But,
Good.
yeah.
You'll come up with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
Jack.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Jack.
that. Have a great night. Thank you.
Director's report.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Matt.
I'm happy to report that Norma is working out great upstairs as the new circulation supervisor. Our Norma.
I know you're talking
Yeah,
about.
he's got the whole Norma thing
Assistant
going.
director.
Yeah, they're doing a great job, and I figured she would. They're working very well together. I'm happy with how it's going. Yeah, we closed already, as you probably know, on Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, and opened late. Opened late on the day after because the boiler was down, probably due to a power surge or something. But C.R. Wolf was able to get here early, and we opened at noon. Danny suggested that everyone just come in and work in their coats.
Good.
So I don't know about
Ah,
that.
he's so funny.
And walk to work.
Yeah,
That's right.
And he's right. He really is right.
We need to dig out the
Layers.
driveway.
Layers.
We had Megan Brennan here. I don't know, you were all here.
We were here for that, yeah.
Okay, so you
Yeah, we were.
graced us with a PowerPoint. And, I did some research since then, called a few library directors, asking about the law firms they use to deal with their school districts. I talked to our lawyer today, just ran it by him, so he's aware of where we're at, and just to get his recommendation, and he thought that our progress was good, that the people we were considering were fine and knew what they were doing. We said, you know, you can get a few other names if you wanted to add them to the hat, but I think you're probably happy with who we've spoken about. Bernie and I went to an open meetings law presentation with Robert J. Freeman, the man who knows everything
Man who answers his own
and
phone.
more.
The man who what?
Answers his own phone, apparently.
Yeah, I called him once, and sure enough,
And he answers his
one of the
own
few
phone.
state offices where
Yeah.
the person that runs it actually answers the phone. He
Yeah.
loves it.
Yeah.
I think for the most part we do a pretty good job here. There's a few things we could probably tighten up, but one of the things I found and mentioned here, interesting, is that according to his reading of the law, anytime a quorum of a group gets together, it should have been posted
Mhm.
publicly. It should actually even, there should have been notice, should have been sent to media, local media. And this is interesting because we send at the beginning of the year, we send the media our regularly scheduled meetings, and that's fine. But if something comes up, we'll call it a work session.
Mm,
Call
we're
it
supposed to tell
what-
the paper.
If there's a quorum there, you're supposed to tell the paper. So that's something that we'll have to be mindful of as we move forward with the
Alright.
building. He said that a quorum, that even means if a subcommittee has 3 people and 2 are meeting together, you've got a quorum. Now, I don't know, I don't know how, Bernie, you can, right. And
Yeah,
so-
it's if you talk about library. I mean, you know,
Well,
we're
that's what
going
we're getting
to
together for.
party on Sunday. We don't have to worry about it because it's a holiday party. Bless you.
Bless you.
But if you're actually going to be there and
Right.
discussing and particularly deciding anything for,
Right.
It's
So
just
you're not-
something to
you're
be
not-
mindful of, especially in light of a building proposal. Anytime you're talking about big money and you just wanna really be on top of things, show you're trying.
Transparency.
Just making sure it doesn't
Yeah.
look like we're hiding.
Right,
anything
exactly.
about the
There's
work.
nothing to hide. In fact, that's the other, go ahead.
Next time, Carol.
Does that include if you're information gathering? Like, for example, if you and Bernie are going to this open law meeting and Norma shows up, is that considered there's a quorum, and is that?
Well, you know,
Something
it's,
that has
it's,
to be
it's
posted.
law. He would say yes by the letter of the law. It
It's
is.
law.
Actually,
Now,
it's not a quorum.
what can, well, it would have to be,
Four.
right, it would be, if you're talking about the group as a whole, but if they were a subcommittee and you had 2 out of the 3, then you're back to that problem.
So Keith and I can never hang out together.
Even when you're gathering information and not
Just not
making
talk about the
decisions?
Right.
Yeah, that's.
As long as
that's
the
my thought.
thing is, it's a deliberative body that's capable of making a decision.
But
Just so it's the potential is there for a decision. Now,
but if we're
Right.
not making decisions,
Right.
we go in there knowing we're not making decisions, just a discussion.
right.
Alright.
I'm just saying with
How does the
but
public know that?
there's the law and then there's the
It's
It's
practical.
transparency, it's
Yeah.
all it is.
No, no,
It's like, you know,
I'm not-
so from now on, we just put it in the paper, work session, and
Right.
Yeah, right.
let the
That's-
throngs
Yeah.
break in the door to come
That's
in.
right.
And you know it's
Now-
like to talk to a good
Yeah.
lawyer. They're going to give you that look to say this is the law.
Yeah.
You know, I mean
Yeah.
this is
If
this
it's
is the law.
that's
So
fine.
There you go.
did, if you bump into each other on this, I mean, are there suddenly going to be
If we all
people
happen to
gathering around?
accidentally
Right.
go to Elsie's for
No,
breakfast.
you know,
it's particularly it's planned. It's
Right.
planned.
The plan,
So if
right.
you and I are going to go to Salesian on Wednesday, there we are. We planned the meeting, and so we should really notify the media. There's 3 things you got to do, right?
What are
And
those
minutes
things?
should be kept as well, even at subcommittee meetings.
Yeah.
So when you're
Even
doing
if the
your
minutes
budget-
just go, we went to Salesian, we looked
Right.
around, we came
Just
back.
so you have
Oh,
some
wow.
some public
No.
record left.
Yeah.
Alright.
Right.
Does that,
It was really
is it
cold.
covered under coming back and reporting on, like, you know, we have the
Yeah,
committee
right, you
reports, you know, the
That would
physical
probably be
resources,
sufficient. I mean, if it
went
were,
to-
again, if
yeah.
we're-
Yeah, 'cause
and that's become part of the public record.
Right. I mean, because the intent of the whole thing is that whatever deliberative process takes part, whatever emanates from that process, is reflected in some public document that someone could look at.
Huh.
Yeah.
So they could look at this
That
video.
that's really what you're shooting for, right?
So you can see all of it.
Oh, what this?
So
Yeah, yeah.
But the
you said
tri-
3 things.
The trick is though that it's the strictest interpretation
Right.
Sure.
of the open meeting law. So
Right.
is anybody? It's like the ADA. Is anybody
Yeah.
come and sue us for having skinny stacks? No. but
Right, it's not a
uh,
problem until it's a problem.
we keep everybody
That's how
happy.
the law goes.
And with the ADA, with the skinny stacks, I think we pay somebody to go into the stacks and get a book for them because that's how you get
Right.
around that.
Yeah, right.
They can't get downstairs.
Make a
You
reasonable
pay somebody to
accommodation.
do it, right.
Yeah. So.
Do the best
You
you
said
can.
there were three things.
Well, you gotta notify the
Advertise,
press. You gotta
minutes.
put it on your website.
Right.
No, the minutes is afterwards. So.
You don't take minutes at these meetings. That's not a requirement.
Well, that's separate.
Just
In
have
terms
a
of
prior-
notification
Separate.
of the
Prior
meeting,
notifying
you have to
people
you have to
that
you have
would-
to
Oh,
you have to
signage.
display it
Okay.
prominently,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Display it prominently on at the building,
It's a good
Which we
idea.
do. Right, we do.
and then we do, and then
No, we're very good, actually. I
And
mean,
the
we-
website
we
update the
do-
website. That's a slam
Yeah,
dunk,
we-
and
yeah,
then
we're wonderful.
notifying the media. But notifying the media does not mean keeping up with the media to make sure they put it in their paper.
Right, that's
Well,
their.
because it's on them to publish.
We just-
Exactly.
exactly.
All you have to do is forward them the information. If it shows up in the paper, that's up to them at that point. That's
What's
nothing.
Facebook count? If we put up,
You know,
I'm
it's funny, those
seriously, we have a
questions come
Facebook
up.
page,
Those, they can't
and we
hurt.
have our website, I
They
mean, does
couldn't
that
hurt.
count?
I mean, I can't imagine in the court, if you that you
Yeah,
say, well, we
right.
put it on our Facebook, we have it on our
Facebook,
webpage. Because again, the whole purpose is to get it
Bernie announced on
broadcast.
his Facebook.
But I think the idea of the media is that it goes to everybody, not a select, even a self-chosen select group. It's supposed to be available to the widest circle. But I think we do.
But we have no trouble sending an email, say, to Tom Leaks
Yeah,
or
it's
Leak.
Right,
at,
right.
the end.
And he is our designated.
Yes.
There you go.
Okay. But that's, we notify the media, the minutes need to be taken at these work sessions. What is the third thing?
No,
That's it.
that's a separate issue. The three things were just prior to the meeting. So
Three
if we
forms
schedule a
of
meeting for
file.
Wednesday,
Yeah.
we need to
That's
we need
what-
to.
I thought there were three
I
things
know.
we were
No,
lacking.
no,
we're-
Okay.
Okay.
No, but I
No.
mean,
There's only two then.
There's only two.
but keeping
one
the
of them is
minutes
three
is,
hard.
Website, the newspaper, and the signage.
Yeah.
So
That's the
there's-
first
Right.
thing. That's prior.
Yes.
And then we should keep minutes at the meeting. We should make those minutes available within 2 weeks or something.
W,
like
what
that.
is it? Yes.
Um,
They don't have to be, that was another interesting point, they don't have to be actually.
They just need to be made available. So
Right.
we could say they're upstairs in Carol's office. Do you want them? Hang on, let me go get them. They're in Matt's office. We don't have to actually post them on the website. That's not. It's just making them available. Is just that.
Even though
Something.
they're not approved.
Right,
no, they can't be put up if they're not approved.
He
It's
said that
afterwards.
that draft things that are in draft and not yet approved, you can still make them available, but just explicitly say if anybody asks, they're
Right.
not approved yet. They will be approved at the next meeting.
So
I know,
minutes,
well, you do
minutes
these
and the
things and-
approval of the minutes.
We didn't have enough to do, that's what it is.
it's, you have no idea after
Alright, it's
5 of
cold
these classes,
outside.
you feel
I
like
know.
you'll never be able to, I mean, you do
It's
your
so
best,
hard
but
to
it
do
really
that.
is, it's like
Yeah.
Okay.
overwhelming, but you know,
We'll do
I think
this.
we do as, you know, we do very well actually compared to most.
We do.
Now the short of it is, if we don't make any decisions at the meeting anyway, who cares? I mean, nobody's going to come and go, "Hey, you talked about this because me and Jim had lunch that day." I'm like, no,
Yeah, right.
we didn't talk
Talked
about it.
football.
Yeah.
Prove I didn't.
So on to lighter fare.
Yes.
Cornerstone Arts, got a report here, I just gave you a snapshot of what Ken sent me. Pretty good turnout
Nice.
to the interrogation of Nathan Hale, which I didn't see, I'm sorry to say, but I heard great things about it.
It was great.
Yeah, I heard.
It's really good.
And he's working on our spring, the spring production that we're underwriting now. He doesn't, I'm not sure what it is yet, but he's started the process. Been to a lot of meetings, friends meeting, when was that? In the middle of November. The Friends are also looking for ways to raise money for us. They're thinking about doing an annual appeal. There's some talk at a recent historical committee meeting that the trivia contest is being pushed back to April, later April instead of early March.
So stubborn.
Right, yes. And they're still looking for a venue that'll be big enough and comfortable enough. And so they're looking at three places right now on their list that they're investigating. Let's see. I'm down to one class left with Jerry Nichols. I can't believe it.
Wow, good for
Fine.
you.
Yeah.
Do you know everything?
So you must be like a wizard.
Yeah. He said he's only there to limn our ignorance, to let you know what you don't know. That's what you. Um, so that's pretty much it. I mean, I did a lot of legwork with the gathering information about, from other directors about the stuff that really probably should go into executive session if you want details about the numbers that we talked about with the lawyers and such. But
Does anybody know why there's a lull in November's regarding
saw that.
statistics? Is this something that happens year after year, that November is a light month for people taking out our resources?
Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
Maybe.
holidays.
Yeah, well, what do we have? Thanksgiving, but I don't know.
Veterans-
Veterans Day,
Veterans Day.
Thanksgiving, and just getting ready for the
Yeah,
holidays.
3 days.
People running around.
Huh? I was
They're-
just
they're at
surprised
the
to
mall.
see it. I don't know, people are home from work and they probably have time to come in here and.
It's not
discuss
downtime
resources.
though, it's gearing up for the holiday time, that's when kids come home from college for Thanksgiving, it's the first big come home thing, that eats up a week.
I just wondering. if
But
it's-
it's lower from a year ago, November.
Just
November
comment
to
on that,
November
too.
numbers are off.
Yeah,
Well, it is part of it. I mean, let's say as a possibility that Michelle drives a lot of
Traffic.
A
lot of traffic,
People
okay.
coming with the,
Yeah.
and if Michelle needs a month off,
It's just curiosity.
she's
you know, I think they're all playing Xbox if you look,
Yeah, so-
you know,
that went up
I mean,
significantly.
it could just be that with our own staff, with
And
the,
the
with the
e-books.
holiday months coming up, that we take it a little light, you know. I mean, she was just saying that she's setting up for lining up kids to take books out over the holidays, over the break.
It's true, the
Yeah.
ebooks went up a lot too, that would say.
Yeah, the ebooks weren't even a factor last year, and they're $250,
It's a good point, though.
$230.
I thought there was no number for ebooks.
There was no number for last year's ebooks.
Oh, was that last year? Where is it? Oh, okay.
I mean, that's up a
Alright.
lot compared to
Right,
September
so
and October
between
too,
ebooks
people are
and
taking those out
Xbox
instead of,
There you go.
it's getting cold out.
There you
that's
go.
why.
That's it.
Not going out.
The next
No,
one,
I'm not
I'll
going outside.
download this right here from my house.
I'm always skeptical the numbers when they're down. I'm like, it must be something with the way Jerry's doing the stats over at RCLF. But when they're up, it's like, yeah.
Those are never wrong.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'll have to see about going back that
Where do you see the lull, by the way?
from
Just the
Past years.
November of this year,
Sheets
the
from
last
October,
year.
On
November.
the next page.
It's not from,
DVDs are fine, but this drops slightly. This drops. Fiction drops significantly.
It's just a comment to
yeah, science fiction, I guess.
It's interesting.
They're still being used, and we're still in
Oh,
need of
yeah.
space. We're still in need
Yeah,
of
it's not a
space.
big lull.
Yeah.
You get it.
Alrighty.
Okay. Committee reports, do we have anybody to report? From physical resources, we're really kind of moving over. I mean, we're all involved in that discussion,
Okay.
but,
Yeah, I think the main point of that was, the short of that is really, we have some time to, if nobody's gonna do any work until March, we have some time to line people up and have them look at the windows where they can. And of course, I'm sure December, January is gonna be tough to get anybody out here anyway to actually look at them, so. Timeline is still pretty good to get that starting, to repair the windows before the end of the fiscal year. And like I said, possibly into the next fiscal year if we need to, depending on the actual costs.
and there, if I remember correctly, there's no remediation required?
Right, depending on
And
how
that's
you
a
do the
big
work.
savings.
Yeah,
I spoke to the county, the health and safety,
okay,
and he said you want to tell them those
awesome,
so you
that's saving us money. Yeah,
It
right. We could do
was
some
just as
even
much,
more
I
windows
think.
now,
Yeah.
so we don't have to do all that extra expense.
So,
Are we
A
talking
couple
about the?
people have been talking.
Are we talking
Staff
about?
Christmas meeting,
Yes.
when is that?
Party?
Yeah,
The-
not the
oh,
one, not
we
the
don't
one at the
have-
restaurant, you're not gonna do that?
We'll do it. We don't have a date. We usually do that in-house party
Right,
at
that's,
some point. We don't have a date. Sometime in January. Kind of moves depending on.
okay. Just because, I only bring it up because we're doing committee
Yeah,
reports, and
yeah.
usually
Oh,
the
sunshine.
sunshine committee kicks in, so then.
I'll ask around and see what the feeling is.
Yeah.
Any other groups wanna report, Friends or?
Well, the Friends, I don't have the date, it's in February, they're gonna have a speaker about railroads in Orange County,
Oh,
so that should be fun. And I'll get that out to you. The trivia contest is being moved, and that's about it, I guess, right now.
For human resources, are we doing a winter newsletter, Matt?
yes.
Tell me the deadline is tomorrow.
No, we're pretty, it's pretty fluid with this one.
What, you're not done? What do you?
Actually, I was waiting for tonight to get some ideas of what we wanna do in light of last week's meeting, because it was gonna be about, the main thrust of it was the spring,
I'm sorry,
Wisdom.
what do you
what
mean?
is it, right? But,
Community?
so now,
What?
I'm looking for
Oh.
some direction from you guys as to how you'd like to approach
I was just
where
confused.
we're at with the project. This is one of, the winter newsletter, then we have the spring, which is mostly, vote stuff, and then we'll have a summer, if we're talking about fall. I don't know if you want us, if you want the conversation to continue in this newsletter about what we're doing and, or how you'd like, if you'd like to take that piece, and I feel like it's a little,
Well, why don't we, after we finish these committee reports, why don't we, under unfinished business, have a conversation about the presentation that Megan did, and then we can talk
what
about
we
it,
do. Okay.
you know, take it apart, and then, did you have a time frame of when you wanted the winter newsletter to be? Because they shouldn't be too close together.
Yeah, we'd probably like to have, I'd like to get it started this week, you know, start collecting stuff. I mean, we have some information. This one's usually, historically, it's just sort of like a holiday card.
Correct.
So there's nothing really pressing. I mean, there's a little flexibility there because there's no summer reading program to, there's no vote to talk about. So really, you know, we do have, if you can get me something by the end of the week.
Just the happy holidays, type of
That's
thing?
fine with me.
and then the spring one we can.
Start talking more
Yeah,
about that.
I think we
Okay.
should put something in there though about where we are in
Because
the
we did have the
process.
community, the charrettes,
committee,
we might
yeah.
wanna thank people for
Yeah,
coming
Yes,
out.
that,
that's a
yeah.
good idea.
kind of
Yeah.
thing.
It's a donut.
For the
Just to
input,
keep-
'cause
and-
that's
and-
kind of the only definite thing that's
Right.
happened so far.
Put up the highlights from the responses.
That's a
Mhm.
good
That's
idea.
okay.
Can people still,
Yeah, it's still on there, right? We didn't take it
responses?
down. Yeah, it's okay.
yeah, to let them know that they're welcome to
Well,
continue to.
why don't we
And
do,
put
why
the
don't we have a
deadline.
discussion
Okay,
I
about
thought,
the
Alright,
charrettes
alright.
and about the
the whole thing?
under unfinished business.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
okay.
Then I'm hearing we don't have any other committee reports to need to.
Sunshine Committee, do we wanna,
You wanna
Talk about-
authorize some contribution to that?
We
You're
usually
looking for
give
money?
$50, so.
Mhm.
I'd have to go back and check in the envelope, but I think we're in the neighborhood of $100 or
I-
something.
Okay, so we usually give 50 for the,
Yeah, we give
we buy
50?
bagels and
I think that
juice
sounds
and
right,
cookies.
yeah.
Oh, I
I
thought you were looking for
No,
money.
no,
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 it's-
no.
Oh, I was reaching
No,
for
they
my wallet.
usually have a Christmas holiday staff
Yes, I
party in the
remember,
library.
donuts
We always,
and-
right, donuts and cookies.
And home baked and, yeah.
Yeah.
And Bernie's famous
We show up
quiche.
with, we all show up with cookies and quiche, and there we go.
So.
yeah, let me know
so-
when that is, yeah.
Alright,
Yeah,
so, want me to get $50 and I'll get
Yeah,
that to you?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
we'll have the staff and the party.
Sounds good, thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Then, nothing further under committee reports?
No.
Let's move to unfinished business and, talk about what we want in the winter newsletter,
Yes.
right?
Well, why don't we discuss a little bit the presentation that Megan had, because that was a work session, it was a public meeting, so
Mhm.
we talk about that a little bit,
Sure.
what she presented to us, and then after that, we take some key points to put in the newsletter,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
so.
Yeah.
I don't have, a printout of, the points are the patrons made on what they wanted in a new library, but.
I can have her send me that,
Yeah, I thought
if you'd
she was
like, and I'll
gonna-
send.
Can you
Yeah, sure.
email
but,
it?
The presentation as a whole, maybe I can get rid of the pictures and, I can,
The
Yeah.
PowerPoint.
the PowerPoint.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
nice.
And post it on the website, or is that what we're talking about, or?
I was
I
gonna
don't
just
know
share with you
about
guys,
that,
but it's up to
yeah.
you, how.
Well, I
Is
think
there-
it's too preliminary to
Okay.
put it up. We didn't approve any of
Yeah.
it for public
No, but,
consumption.
I
It was
mean,
just, yeah,
It's
I
what
don't
she
think that should be.
presented.
Yeah, but you don't wanna start putting things up until it's the thing we're gonna build. Do you know what I mean? When it's like,
Well,
we're thinking about this.
Are we,
No,
I
we're
mean, what I'm
about this,
thinking
we're
is,
thinking about this.
Yeah,
were
okay,
were we happy with her presentation? Were we happy with the direction that we're going in? Are we, you know, the original timeline that we, you know, that we were given? Are we amending that timeline?
We have.
Well, yeah, we have to
so,
amend that
yeah,
timeline,
so,
'cause it's
you know,
too-
things like that, are we, personally,
Let's just
you
bring
know,
them up.
personally, I was happy in the direction that they're going in,
Mhm.
you know, in terms of thinking about the space, albeit with, you know, I was not, I'd like to see the children's area have a little more space.
Mhm.
There was something else you brought up in terms of,
Well, friends.
Build the infrastructure.
yeah, in terms of cables and things for the
Server rooms.
Yeah,
server room
needed
and
to
that kind
be
of
set
thing.
up.
Anybody else?
No, I think we were all pretty much on the same page, especially with the children's room.
Oh, and the
With-
friends
with
area.
the friends area.
The
Friends
friends area,
area,
you know,
Right.
having
And,
having
the
them
way
have a
they
prominent
incorporated,
space.
Well, those are
historical displays throughout the library, because that is part of our main,
Right.
it's kind of important to include it.
So-
So this isn't all statutory,
Was she to modify the floor plan to increase the children's area out over onto the roof? Am I remembering wrong?
No,
that
no,
was one
you're
of
right,
the,
yeah,
Mhm.
that was one of the.
So that's
ideas.
one of the changes
Mhm.
that she's gonna provide in December.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
Right,
took
right.
notes,
And,
yeah.
and these are all, it's all,
It's
see,
not-
part of the
it's
problem too
still-
is you know, when you build any type of large structure like that, it's all preliminary floor plans for what she's doing.
Yeah.
Part of the problem too is the next step is if them or whoever we hire as architects is gonna take this floor plan design and try to apply it to an actual structure.
Yeah, right,
And then
right.
they're gonna go, well, you can't possibly have that here because of this, you know, or if they're really good, they're gonna go, all right, except that the sun's gonna come in this way and that room's gonna bake at 10 o'clock in the morning, so you can't have any programs in that room, or,
Yeah.
you know, something like this. So there's gonna be changes to whatever they do, but yeah, we talked about, you know, when she was talking about the what was for the kids area should be bigger, you know, for the programs we want to do. And I think she started too with saying that more area for programs is one of the things from the charrettes, and also larger programs
Yes.
for the kids, which is something that we knew about too, because
Right.
we already knew that. How many people can fit in this room?
It's 15, 16.
What's that,
Yeah,
Legally?
14, 15, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Total.
That's what I said.
Or
Oh.
kids with parents, like
That-
15 kids with 15 parents.
No,
No.
15 people.
15
legally.
kids. So we were already aware that we need
Yeah,
more room
yeah.
for children's programs in particular, but you know, all programs.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Well, yeah, I think she's got our input and we'll adjust it
Yeah.
and
yeah.
we'll have something. But can we go through some of the numbers that were thrown out? Like, we were looking at this building and adding on to it, and yeah, I can't get into all the detail of it, but we're looking at, this is to the public, that modifications to this building by tearing down the new section and adding a second floor in some areas down here of excavation, a building of 15,000 square feet.
With
That's
no
what's
parking.
possible. That would take over the parking area, so there'd be no parking in the rear. So one of the top complaints or things the public wanted to see is parking, and not just parking that you have to back out onto 207
Right.
with your
We
kids in their
wouldn't.
car,
Mm.
but that's what she was able to put together, or they were able to put together, and there'd be no future expansion in such a building, and it would be closed for a year for renovation, and we'd have to find another building to house the library
Correct.
during that time, and the costs involved. And it would cost between $6.3 and $6.7 million to
Just-
renovate this building to have 15,000 square feet.
And no parking.
And no
green
parking.
space, and
And
no
no green
expanded
space,
building.
Yeah. So,
And
you
that
know,
didn't include the rent, and that didn't include the moving costs, and it didn't include, you know,
right.
aggravation.
And part of the
I
problem
don't know
too
what
is that we
that
can't
costs.
touch the older part of the building.
Right, because
Due to
it's
ship alarm.
Right, you have to
historical.
keep the corners intact.
Yeah.
Right, because of the,
So the-
right.
Rather than call it the new section, it's the 1970s.
Yeah, right, it's not really.
Well,
it's more
1977
It's the newer section, yeah,
Yes.
it's not really new.
So no, it's not new.
Yeah.
But
Right, so it would cost almost as much money to
40
get.
years young.
well,
much less
the
library.
other option was looking at Silesian, the land that we
Already
we
taken.
owe nothing. We own it,
Right,
and having about 19,000 square feet
mhm.
in
50
ample parking in areas that we could have outside programs and have a meeting room that could accommodate 100 or so people, or it could be changed into different configurations for other types of meetings. 19,000 square foot building for between 7.6 and 8.1 million dollars.
Yeah.
So the cost is pretty close.
It is, for
You know,
that much
especially not
more.
knowing how much we'd pay to rent another building and the cost of
Right,
moving
right, and the end result. would
2
be-
times.
For almost
more.
5K more, plus
So-
expandability, plus ample parking.
Right,
And these
50
things-
parking spots at least, and then a drop-off zone, which we do not have yet. There's no safe place to drop your kids. You gotta stop in the middle of the street, and if we take away the parking lot, then what are you gonna do, block Hill Street, you know,
Yeah, so
or stop on 207 and drop your kids? You know.
so you know, due diligence was done in looking at both of these
Yeah.
locations,
Mhm.
and
Preliminary numbers at
Right.
this point,
Right.
extreme
This-
preliminary
none of this-
numbers.
Right,
You
this
bet.
is all very
We don't-
extremely
yeah,
preliminary.
we're not-
right,
we
using
have
their
not
formulas
settled.
that are usually accurate, but it's good.
Right,
It just-
you gotta
good
make
numbers
that
to
point
start
that we
with.
haven't made a firm decision on anything
It's an
yet.
extreme
No,
preliminary numbers.
so
Right, which is why
so
our pictures
that
are up on the web, which is why, because we aren't decided exactly on anything yet.
So, you know, that was discussed in this past work session, and I think we could say we were unanimous in not pursuing anything
Further
at
on
this
this site,
location. And if we're gonna do anything, it would be at the Silesian, and
Right.
there's certainly a lot of merit in doing
Well,
that.
there was no vote, it was a work session.
Right.
There- There's no
Right.
decision made.
Yeah.
No, but it was the
board-
discussion.
The board seems to, we're gonna have to at some point, I guess, in the winter session, the next few months, come to a decision as to what we're going to do. In other words, we just can't, we asked the architectural firm to gather information for us, to give us some options. They're finishing up those options, we've had the work session with the preliminary,
Right,
and at some point, we're gonna have to make a decision as to
right.
what we're gonna do.
And
We
I
have to
was
back-
thinking, prior to that decision, we'd have another public meeting
Yes.
to go over this.
Right.
Well,
To-
to,
for them
to
to, for
explain
them
it.
to
to
go
question
over.
and to question, you know, to question us, to question architects, and
Yeah.
did you
Right,
consider
to
this?
explain
Did you
the
consider that?
progress and the
You know,
process.
and then
and the details.
yeah,
Right,
and for us to say this, the reason we came to this decision is because, you
this
know,
is
and
what-
at that point we have numbers,
right,
you
better,
know,
more
Yeah,
firm
firm.
numbers.
yeah, that are firmer. So, so I think at this point, we need to figure out, you know, moving the project back, because we have so many other things to think about.
Yeah.
There's so
So
much to do.
yeah, and there's very little time to do it in.
So instead of having the spring referendum like they suggested, we're gonna decide to push it to next fall.
Instead of April 2015 going down to November of 2015.
Right.
Yeah.
Are we all in agreement with that?
We're in agreement.
think so.
I'm not sure how that would work with, what is the November, election in
I think that
2000?
was-
The president, I mean,
There was no president, nothing like that, right? The school.
it's an off year, I guess.
Is it?
Oh, yeah, but
There may be some
They
state
use
stuff.
different machines.
I was just
It's-
gonna
they
say,
use
those
different
machines
machines.
we need are from the
Yes.
school
Yeah.
district, and they're not involved in a public election for a congressman or whatever.
So it's electronic now
Mm.
for the November elections. The
Right.
only reason they use the regular the old machines is for school votes,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And that's over in May,
Mm-hmm.
so the machines will be free by November.
Even
mean,
if there's a
pushing it-
conflict, even if there's a contest,
Yeah, pushing it to the fall also gives us a chance to do, there's a number of action items on the sample timeline.
Yeah.
Right.
And that Megan discussed also in terms of construction manager, in terms of, like, we
Well,
want to
we
get
don't
our
have
ducks
to
in a row in
rush
terms
all the way
of
through this either,
Right.
if we
Yeah.
give ourselves a year.
Fundraising,
yeah,
you know,
fundraising, huge. From what I
Public
saw up in
relations.
Nyla, there's lots of aspects to proper fundraising for getting funding for a project this size, for getting extra money, and all that would go, would go against anything that we need to come through a referendum. Referendum's only asking to borrow up to a certain amount. It's
Right.
not actually
It's not
borrowing
that we're borrowing all of it.
a
or-
certain amount,
right.
yeah. And so other libraries that I spoke to up in Nyland, but even in RCLS in Sullivan County, were they do they can, if they get $1 million in fundraising.
That's less they borrow.
Yeah.
Mm.
So do we have Matt then contact the architect and tell them we officially have decided that we're moving instead of April 2015 to November of 2015 with a referendum?
Well,
We
we
good
still
on
have
that?
to
Yeah.
decide that we're going to do it and which, officially have a vote on which of these two proposals.
Well, we can at least say we're not
Well,
doing it in
they-
April.
They also haven't given us any
then-
proposals
yeah.
to vote on yet,
Right.
so
Right.
we can't
Yeah.
make that decision
So
yet.
we're a little
So
bit
that was
ahead
January
of the,
Yeah. Supposed to get it in December for
Right,
January
right, so we'd have it for
discussion.
January's meeting, that's how I'm remembering.
Mhm.
Now, for the newsletter, I think
Yeah.
that just, thank you for everybody's input. I mean, a lot of people came out and spent a
Mhm.
great deal of time with us, some evening, on a weekend. And, the people who took time to, fill out the form they fill it out online and that's how it
yeah.
works?
Maybe 50 of them online. And
Wow,
Oh.
see that? So, yeah,
I'm just,
That's
I'm
so
going to
low.
thank everyone for.
I mean, that's a lot. Maybe it's a lot
Yeah.
of people, but yeah.
I'm going to, I'm going to send it all to all of you so you can take a look at it. But thank everyone for coming to the community forums. At this point, the architect is still, working on,
meeting all of the needs you expressed.
what is that?
Presentation.
Preliminary
Yeah.
floor plans.
No,
Preliminary?
Architectural.
putting
Drafting
together, still
preliminary.
putting together the information
Oh, from the shreds.
from the community forum.
Still accumulating it.
Yeah, preparing a report. That's what I want to say.
Ta-da.
Don't you hate when that happens?
Preparing report, and we have every intention of having another community forum to
Wonderful.
present to the public.
findings and the
to present
conclusions
from.
and whatever.
So be on the
Results.
lookout for that.
That's right. Heads up.
Nice.
And also that the form is still online if people want to continue to
Yeah.
contribute.
Right.
Right, how long will it be
Input.
up?
You can leave it.
Okay.
I mean, they have to revise their report, but
Yeah.
all, I think, well, from where.
There comes a point where we're done, right?
Right, but currently, yeah,
got
more
a
information
while.
is still good information, yeah.
Okay.
so.
They can still fill out forms.
Yep.
They have written stuff too at the desk or no, just only online?
I'm not sure. We did. We had a bunch that were handed out, but I haven't checked there.
One-
Furnished or supplied.
One, okay, so is that for everybody good on that? In terms of
Yeah.
the,
That works.
yeah, it'll be short and sweet. It'll be
Right.
Basically,
Yeah, 'cause it's-
and happy holidays.
Right.
There you go.
One group of people that I don't remember ever including in the newsletter and thanking them from us is teenagers. We have teenage volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've ever done that. I think I want to include them.
Sure.
Do we know about how many, Matt?
Oh, the teen volunteers in the summertime, there's got to be like 100 of them.
It fluctuates a lot over the year, doesn't it?
Yeah, they mostly come during the summer programs.
Not. Is there a
They have a
smaller
committee,
group
and
or?
it's sort of a core committee.
Mhm.
They call it Teen Advisory Council or Teen Advisory Group. I'll get you the
Please,
details from Karen.
'cause I read it in one of
Yeah.
Michelle's things about the teams, and I thought we need to acknowledge everybody.
Yes,
Mhm.
that's great.
Yeah.
Is there, the Friends have team?
Off and on.
We have on paper, we have a junior friends group, which has individuals have helped out at some of the book sales, but they would like to do more, and they're kind of looking for an appropriate project. So any ideas anyone has to how the junior friends might, and it's a small group, it's probably not going to be more than 10 people.
Okay.
And they paint windows.
Oh, they would cough.
Abatement? No, do they need abatement? We'll suit him up.
Well, keep that in mind. I didn't know they were, I thought they had sort of dissolved. They're back, there's some of them.
Yeah, there's some
Okay.
really willing and able
Good.
people, so looking for opportunities.
Okay.
It's good.
All right,
Good
then
discussion.
Sounds good.
let's move to new business.
Well, I had one more question.
Or not.
I'm not, and I'm scanning it, but I don't see it on here. What's the story about just research on whether on a assistant director, associate director, whatever we
Whatever
would
we
call
call
it?
them.
Director's
Yeah.
assistant.
You're still compiling or deciding
Yeah,
or
sort of.
figuring what you don't want to do or what you want them to do, or
Yeah, I'm not, I guess it's sort of, we need to get together and look at the budget first of all and see how we wanna,
Fair
that's
enough.
the main thing.
Yeah.
I think we can get together soon and see what we have, cause then I can start to shape the position around what we have available,
Okay.
you know? Cause I think it's a great idea, I'm just trying to figure out where to fit them and how to pay them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be sort of
All right. So budget first, and then
Yeah,
come
yeah.
back to it. All right.
that's it before I
And
forget
plus
the
pushing the date to the fall.
It's not gonna be a full-time
It's not a-
position.
budget committee.
It's not gonna be a full-time position.
Oh, I see Ron on
It depends on
Full-time position.
well, if a lot of the work is needed for the project, for the new building
We're
project,
not allowed to do that.
so
We're not
No.
allowed to hire somebody just to do that.
to do what?
We're not allowed to hire somebody just to, we can't put them on library payroll to work on the building.
No, but they would be the emissary to.
Nice to have.
No, they would work with the contract manager. We still need our construction manager.
For what?
We still need a construction manager for the project. So the associate director, Matt's day is full.
No,
So
right,
every-
No, these are, I think,
Yeah. So no, it's
I'd
they're
like to
valid
have,
questions.
I'd like to hear more about
They're valid
what this
questions.
position would be.
But yeah, that's part of it. Is anytime in my job at work in IT, anytime somebody goes, hey, we're gonna bring on a brand new department and they're gonna need this database and they're gonna it's a brand new project and us over here we're already full. So you're talking about hiring somebody in, or hiring somebody on or paying a consultant. So in the case of a construction project, we have to hire a construction manager for certain things to deal directly with the architect or directly with the
construction
building
manager.
construction. Yeah.
This is a
That's
job
a separate,
description.
it's a
But
totally, yeah.
we're gonna need
Together.
somebody. That's one example of we're gonna need somebody on to work in the library's best interest, and it could be Matt. But if Matt's day is too full, we would need somebody else. That would handle it.
My understanding of a construction manager,
Yeah.
they work for us,
Yeah.
they answer to us, they come report to us, they're our
Right.
eyes and ears.
Right.
They
That's
and
their
I don't
job.
know
Yeah, that's
how
their job.
hard and fast that is because I
Yeah.
know
Well-
construction managers that are their first priority is themselves. And yeah, and so supporting us, they would be supporting themselves, but there will be times at which they will act in their own best interest. And the line blurs. But there's other stuff too. There's a lot to a new building project. So that's
So we need to
but
hire somebody with
no.
building project
No.
experience?
No, we don't.
No, we're actually not allowed to do that.
I don't know.
No.
We're not allowed to hire
That's-
somebody.
No, this is, we're looking also past any new building if
Right,
we do
right.
get a new
Right,
building.
because
Yeah.
Matt's job is a
Yeah.
person
We need a
and a half
job
that's required
description.
to do Matt's job.
Yeah.
You need a secretary,
for what?
like he
Matt
needs
needs
a
a secretary.
Matt needs a secretary, because he's like a Girl Friday kind of thing.
No.
Guy
No.
Friday, whatever.
Wow.
whoever.
okay. Civil service Girl Fridays are a lot cheaper. So
No, but it's
no, it's
it's Matt's job is already his
Yeah.
plate's already full.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
more
is
than
like
more
a
than
salad
full.
plate. We need
and
somebody to deal
yeah,
with the salad
Right.
exactly.
plate.
So,
And on
So that's-
that is right, but
so
we
that's
can't
exactly
be that
where
quick. They have to
Yeah.
be here henceforth and forever.
Somebody who's working to do library business, not new building.
Right,
Right.
right,
Right.
right.
So
Because
there is
we're
no-
not hiring. That's not. You got to make that.
I'd
clear,
like to
because we're
see a
not-
really good job description
Yeah.
for that
Yeah.
before
Right.
we
Before
go
Oh, yeah.
make
go
any
yeah.
decisions.
Because that
Yeah.
can't.
So it's on you, man.
Because you're not busy. enough,
And justified,
just to
I'm sorry.
prove the point that you're already overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Here, add this to your pile.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's everything else. You hire one new person for the staff, and the question is, well, you're going to train this person. How much are you going to? What's the payoff? How much do you train this person for? But I mean, Norma has worked out incredibly well.
Mm-hmm.
Training her, having her do more and more stuff, and then now changing positions for her. So
Right.
it's if the payoff is there, it's something we need to look at. financially, fiscally speaking, we can't have Matt do a lousy job.
Mhm.
That's the thing. We can't have Matt do a lousy job, and that's no good. So, if he's overworked, we need to look at what else we can do for that. So.
Let's look at the job description for,
Yeah.
putting some thought behind this. So,
In continuing with Megan's presentation, one of the topics that came up had to do with the relationship between the library board and the school district, and how important
Mhm.
that is.
School board or school district? What do you mean?
Well, the school district through the school board. And I have a copy here of the agreement between the Moffett Library in Washingtonville and the Washingtonville School District. And what it does is, and this is public record information, this is nothing it's actually on their agenda, and, you know, they voted to approve it. But what it does is it outlines,
They've already approved it.
I believe, so are there,
Thank you.
if they meet tonight, they're approving it tonight. It's in there.
Do you have a copy?
Your
Is
packet.
that the same thing you gave me?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I got it actually.
But what it does is it lists the responsibilities of the school district, and then it lists the responsibilities of the library, and they both basically, at the end of this, agree to it. It'll be signed by both parties. I thought it was quite interesting, you know, the way things are spelled out. So we're gonna end up at some point, if we do decide to proceed in building the library, with something along these lines. They're using Jacobowitz and Gubitz, which is the one that Warwick also used.
So they could just,
So,
Oh, great.
that's helpful.
So,
I believe this is the lawyer that crafted this, was the gentleman I spoke with today, who echoed that sentiment, that one of the most important things is keeping the relationship between the two boards functioning well. And that there's, you know, the negotiations are such that there's a sort of,
No, no problem.
well,
what's the word?
And that's
Peaceful
what-
coexistence.
and that's one of the reasons why we should, in the spring, ask for a meeting with the school board to show them the direction that we're going in, this preliminary plans, and see what they think about it, because
I think earlier than the spring. I think
than the
we'll
winter, I
know
guess.
something
Maybe
in
January,
January and,
yeah.
you
we need, and have, you know, Megan come with the presentation and,
know, yeah.
you know, show it to them and get their reaction, and share our thinking.
Yeah, I hope we can get them to agree to. sitting
They're
with
gonna
us,
say they're in the budget process.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
they're
I'm
really
sure
busy,
that's-
so
that's probably
it may be tough,
what you said the spring. Okay,
but,
But we opened the door.
but still,
right.
yeah. Definitely. All right,
The policies we have to have.
yeah, let's go on to new business, and I have a few, what do they call?
Action items.
Just action items,
I
but
don't think they're from-
no need to phrase them as a motion, or we do?
Pat, did you have phrasing
Yes,
for that?
I put it, I mean, I think I have
I
that
can just
correctly.
proceed it with, could I have a motion that the trustees, something like that?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Pretty much.
And if I get that phrasing, I'll be sure to do that.
Is there a lead-in to each one?
Well, you
or-
know what, let me just explain quickly, these two policies, came down from the state, they are,
No, both
I'm
pages.
sorry, that's the vote.
they emanate, I guess, from some, recent legislation for nonprofits in general. So in other words, we have no choice, we have to add these to our policy handbook.
Right, so it doesn't matter if we want to. So we're going to say we want to, so that we'll say,
Yeah.
hold on.
And I'm actually surprised, I looked through our policy handbook a couple times, I thought we
You would
had.
think we'd have something like that.
I thought so, I looked a few times, if we do this, this will supplant the one that's
Supersede
there,
it, yeah.
supersede it.
Mhm.
Cause I didn't see it on the, and I went through a
Especially
couple
conflict of
times.
interest.
But, well, you know what, I think it mentions it, but it's not,
Yeah.
this one makes, everyone's gotta sign it, it's much more in-depth.
Oh,
The,
okay.
the phrase conflict of interest arises here and there, but it's not like a distinct policy.
Mhm.
Bad, huh?
I know, cause this, we now have to actually have all of the staff sign off on it, the trustees, myself.
We're gonna call a motion to adopt this, and upon that acceptance, you need all of us to sign our copy, or is that for another meeting?
We're not employees. so we're
No, it says
It
board.
does say, yeah, you can, we
Board
can
members
Oh,
can-
yeah,
Yeah.
board,
sign
yes,
it and bring it back
Okay.
to, or, you don't have to do it right now.
We don't need a notarized, do we?
No, it doesn't.
What happens,
Should be two separate motions.
Right.
or
But you one for each, the
There it is.
whistleblower, one for the conflict of interest. What were you saying, Tony?
as an example, quick example, when I was at NILA, I talked to a small library that has 13 board members. Insane.
What?
Yeah, really?
And
How do they get rid of
the
you?
director was telling me that that everybody who had been appointed that year being January, and this was in October, when did we go? Everybody who had been appointed that year, which was more than half, I think it was, had not yet signed the thing we sign every year when we get
Right,
elected.
right.
And so in those cases, they can actually be ousted for not signing that
Sure.
within 12 months,
Yeah.
as per the library law. So this is more type of things where it's like, we can take it home, read it, sign it, but we need to sign it because it's going to be policy for us.
Okay.
And
All right.
if there's any questions, we can discuss it before we all sign them. Bring them back signed, but discuss it. If anybody wants to change them, I think we
The
can.
wording is from the state.
Yeah.
The wording, is, one of them is from another local library that's shared, which one is that? I'm sorry, the conflict of interest, the other is from ALA, I took it from theirs and I just tweaked it, for lack of a better word, to fit our, just
Oh, so
changing
just changing
any
the
town
name
library to the
to-
Goshen
right.
Public, right.
Right, right. Yeah.
Okay. Then
So
I'm gonna-
do we want to review these and just talk about it next meeting?
If you'd like, I mean, this is legislation that was passed in
We don't
2013,
have a
so there's,
choice,
so it's,
we
We don't
kind
have
of
a
don't have a
right,
choice.
I mean,
So we're just formally accepting something we don't have a choice to reject.
Okay. And then we can just update. We can just
Am I
update the
wrong?
policies
No.
later if we see something.
yeah, if you
with
see
it.
something you're unhappy with, we can always amend it,
Okay,
but
so
Right.
that's,
best,
I
best
just,
to do it now.
Right.
Okay.
Just to get it over with.
Sure.
So we don't have to,
and it's
one
interesting.
more thing we don't have to deal with in
For
January.
the whistleblower policy I went from library to library, some were 5 pages long, some were, 2 paragraphs, and these were all off the ALA site saying, here's some good examples.
Yeah.
So I took one that seemed to cover all the points that needed covering
Yeah.
and was
Hmm.
not, 5 pages long and
Right.
was unnecessarily
Nobody's gonna
legally, so.
Okay.
Jumbo.
read it.
Just out of curiosity, when it says the library may take disciplinary action up to and including termination, what kinds of disciplinary actions do we take?
Don't have to think about that.
Have to come up with some.
Depends.
It's barred from the business.
Yeah, right. That's right. We're doubling your fines.
You have to work in your coat, no heat.
That's right, you're gonna work in your coat.
Can I-
Well, disciplinary action is also just a bad mark on the review. That's a
Sure, it
disciplinary
could just
action,
be
so,
getting dressed
yeah.
down by the director.
Yeah.
All right, you want a
Yeah.
motion to approve whistleblower?
I'm gonna
I'll make the
start.
motion.
Please have-
You
Uh,
want?
Yeah.
Can I have a motion that the trustees of the Goshen Public Library and Historical Society resolve to adopt the conflict of interest policy in compliance with the 2013 Nonprofit Revitalization Act? Who will make that motion? Jim, seconded by Ellen Mary, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
So we're signing this now and giving it to
Yeah.
We don't
Carol?
have to, we could read it and bring it back next meeting.
Or
You can have mine
Oh,
now,
because I-
Carol.
just-
I
You
know.
can have mine now,
Now we can
Carol.
sign it.
You'll
That's
never
right.
see
Yeah, right, so I don't have to think about it anymore.
All right.
We're not profiting from the library.
There you go.
What
Let's
is
put
it?
it at 8.
Yes.
Today's date is it the
It's
8th?
the 8th, yes.
Printed name.
In the position of who's
Good radio right here.
Position
What's that?
This is good radio right here.
There you go.
Is
Did I
our-
put my
And the
phone
review was
on there?
quiet.
That would
Is
be
our
good.
position trustee or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you
Trustee,
trustee
board
or your
trustee.
office, either way. Take the signers.
There you go, Miss Carol.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Boy, Ryan, you know, so much work.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we have to remember about him.
Yes,
I have everyone's, I believe, except
except
for
for
Ryan.
Ryan.
Okay.
All right, very good, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Going on to the next one regarding,
Yep.
what's it
We
called,
don't have to
policy?
sign anything
Nope.
for this.
Can I have a motion that the trustees of the Goshen Public Library and Historical Society resolve to adopt the
You okay?
Yeah, thanks a lot.
whistleblower policy
Is there something you want to
compliance
tell us?
with the 2013 Nonprofit Revitalization Act? Who will make that motion? Ellen Mary, seconded by Bernie. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay. And there's gonna be a third motion, that we just wanna be able to add another law firm to our approved list. And, somebody that specializes in educational law.
Okay.
Is that right? Educational law?
Education.
Library
Educational law.
education law? No, library?
Just ed law.
Ed
Ed
law?
law.
Yeah.
Okay.
So not necessarily dealing with our school district directly, it's just all
Just
manner of
education
ed law,
law.
education law. Okay.
Right.
Can I have a,
Consider school district council.
Oh, that's what you put on there,
Right.
Carol?
Council
I don't know.
district council.
But basically, I mean, I don't think, does it matter what, I mean,
No, we
I think
use
we're just
that.
adding them
we're
to,
adding them to the list?
and you
Put
could
them on
use
the
them
list.
for whatever you need
You
them
can just
for.
put them
Yeah.
on the
Because they don't
list.
just do
Education law.
Right,
Yeah.
they do
Right.
22 different things, so.
Right,
Yeah.
but they
That's
happen
one
to
of their
also do
specialties,
this, so we're
right.
gonna include them
Right.
in the pool we draw.
And yes,
Okay,
let me
thank
just
you.
read it,
Go
and
for it.
it's not specific.
Mhm.
Can I have a motion that the trustees of the Goshen Public Library and Historical Society resolve to add the law firm of Jacobowitz and Gubitz, LLP, to the library's roster of authorized counsel? Who will make that motion?
Moment.
Nancy, seconded by Norma.
There you go.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
So we kinda had our budget discussion with Jack here, or is there
Well,
more?
Well, are we gonna get
Appoint
people to volunteer
committee?
for the
I
committee?
say Ryan.
Brian, definitely.
I say Bernie.
Ryan and Bernie.
Bernie,
Bernie.
Ryan and Bernie.
Now, if you have a third party tagging along
Then
listening
you have to
in,
keep minutes and you're not allowed to go out
Wow.
for coffee and what
is that a
else?
quorum though?
It's not
if
a
there's-
quorum.
If you guys are having your discussion and I pop in, that's not a quorum, is it?
Well,
For that
doesn't
committee?
it- the two of them being
Technically,
there
the two
is
of
the
us is a
quorum?
quorum
It's
of the
if
committee.
two of you
Yeah.
out of the committee,
It's
right,
a
yeah,
c-
it's a
committee
Right.
forum.
It's a
Yeah.
committee
Not
quorum,
board
it's not a board quorum.
So if one person is
So-
there, that's 50% of the
But
committee.
there
That's
was- there was-
quorum.
All by yourself, you walking around, going, we need a third person, otherwise you're gonna be
Now-
a
You need a
video
secretary
quorum.
now, taking notes all the time.
Okay, anybody
So
who
we need third
anybody who
person.
didn't see Jerry Nichols' thing on Thursday, we'll send the archive.
Yeah.
We'll send the archive thing as soon as it's available, and you guys should watch
Yeah, I
it.
wanna
It's,
watch
it's,
that.
it's about it's
The
almost an
archive.
hour and a half total. It's supposed to be an hour, but he ran over. But he did actually make mention at one point, and some of the stuff I think he didn't agree with Robert Freeman.
Right, well, that's the other thing, there are opposing
Okay, so
opinions. to some
but
of
he
this.
also quoted Robert Freeman as saying that this is accurate. So we'll check it out. We'll have to call Robert and see if he answers his phone. But the point is, he did make either there or in the workshop there was some kind of comment about for committees, whether committees had to publish minutes or not. Okay, so we'll
look
figure it
into
out.
But,
Yeah,
but
we'll look into it.
you're talking notifying the public too.
Right,
You,
so
you
if
can't
That's-
just say the minutes.
That's the thing, yeah. So
so do
we'll,
you,
and Jerry Nichols actually referenced something about libraries with more than
Well,
1 million patrons or something like that.
we're
So-
talking, we've talked work sessions, we're talking committee meetings. Those are two separate things,
right,
and we're saying
Well-
the same
well, work
rules might
sessions,
apply.
committee meetings, and even workshops.
Workshops.
Which is what we
What, a
attended.
charrette? Is that
No,
a
like-
workshop?
Charrettes.
see, I was always under the impression that a committee meeting was more along the lines of an executive session. And that you just, okay, we went had a committee meeting on
In-
this such and
Yeah.
such a date, we came out of the
These are
committee meeting.
recommendations.
Right, and then you make it public what you discussed
You
at
report.
this meeting,
Yeah.
so I
And-
didn't
but
think it was a
that's-
thing that it was an
But the,
entity
but the
unto
executive
itself.
sessions, there's a very small list of topics you can discuss, and
Yeah,
the
well,
kinds of things we're
true.
talking about are not on that list.
True.
Right,
So-
but you can't
So they're
act
not-
on any of it without the rest of the board, so it's your committee to
That's the
then
difference.
report back to the board, so
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
different.
The-
That was always my understanding, that it was a separate
In,
thing.
What
in
do
the
we
open
find out
meeting
what the
law, in the
school
open
board
meeting law
does?
workship,
Hmm.
that Robert Freeman basically said any two or more people is a meeting,
Uh-huh.
and if there's quorum, if those two people constitute a quorum of a subcommittee, that's
So
an
then
open
you
meeting.
need the
yeah.
third person, or you're a quorum of one.
No,
If-
quorum.
According to that logic.
No, quorum of
If there's
one.
two
No,
people,
no,
well,
specifically
Yeah,
quorum of
everybody
one
said-
doesn't count. Yeah,
Okay.
so we'll check that out.
Yes.
But it's an important point. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to
Because we
take
don't
a
know
look at that. I was on it, I wasn't free to watch it when it was live, when it was streamed.
Jerry Nichols is more about financial responsibility of a trustee. So, but he did touch on some subjects like that too. So, but yeah, it's a good. All his webcasts are good. So.
Carol.
Did I miss something? It's the budget committee is going to be Ryan and Bernie. Was there anyone else
Mhm.
included in there?
I don't think we
Just
did.
No, because
We generally have it in the past.
No,
we generally
actually,
do.
I just-
Actually, the last time was
Make
when
sure I didn't miss it.
when Frank was on, and I think it was the three of us.
Yeah, I think I was involved then.
So.
I'm very comfortable not being involved.
Oh,
The rest of
you-
us are all looking at our hands.
And you have that
Right.
spreadsheet that you put
Yeah,
together.
I need to update
That's a
that. I
good
didn't update it
starting
last
point.
year at all.
Yeah.
Right,
So.
right. So you're like already ahead.
A lot
It would
of
be,
changes.
it would
though,
be
so
wrong
it's,
not to include you.
yeah.
And it'd be Jack and Matt also, right?
Well, they're not on,
Jack and
They're not on the
We just-
board,
they're-
so they're
they're
not.
Advisors to the.
advisors
Yeah,
or,
you and Jack.
they're resources.
they're
right.
consigliaries.
Did you
They
want to
bring
be
coffee.
a number 3?
I wanted to sit in just to
Okay.
learn about the process
Yeah,
that
they're
you
looking
guys
for the
use.
notice.
Definitely then, you should be on the committee. If you're interested.
But then we have to give public notice.
Either way.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
it-
Saturday
yeah.
morning,
or
my
three,
dining
same.
room.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
right.
doesn't change the public notice requirement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, however
Yeah,
many.
so
people
then Norma should be on the committee, make
Mhm.
a committee of 3.
You
That's
let
good.
me know when you're meeting,
Okay.
not during the day.
Got that, Carol?
I work too.
Norma's on a committee too.
I'm on the committee.
That's exciting.
It is exciting.
Are we done?
Almost.
Well,
Well, is there anything else that's
Great.
not on the list of new business?
I think Bernie wanted to mention something about, sorry,
Throw a shoe with him.
What did I want to mention?
Albany. You wanna bring that up tonight?
Oh. February 25th.
Yes.
Wednesday, February 25th. NILA Advocacy Day.
Mm.
Anybody
Go up
wants to
there.
spend a day up in Albany?
Why are you looking at me?
There'll be buses from RCLS.
I wish I
Anybody
could
who
go.
has
I
no
wish I
job or
could
is
go.
retired
Oh,
or
yeah.
could spare the day. Yeah, it's they haven't published the information yet, or last I checked, but RCLS usually the bus ride up there is like $12, something like that. You pay for your own lunch while you're up there in their lunchrooms area, but yeah, you basically part of the crowd that advocates for the library, and it's not just us either. It's really anybody who's watching this. Anybody who's watching this, or anybody on the Friends can go, and I believe if we actually name any champions, the champions go free.
Oh,
The
yeah?
champions are, you're familiar with the champions that are at the annual meeting at RCLS, that type of champion. We can't just go, Carol's our champion. Carol's got to, it's got to be the person with the story who wants to. Not that you don't have stories, but
Yeah, right.
yeah, we can actually
That's
name
a lot of
champions
good
and they can
stories,
go.
actually,
But
since
for
it's-
whatever it is, $12 last year, whatever it is this year. So, and it's a good day. It's an early day though.
I wish it wasn't working.
So,
I know.
I don't believe you.
They should keep the politicals. They should keep the politicals up there on a Saturday, and that way we can go. Maybe a lot more people would go.
They probably move faster.
well, that's the thing is it's not a it's advocacy. It's not what's the other word? Lobbying. It's
No.
not lobbying. It's advocacy,
Yeah,
which
but
is
who
just
you-
a crowd.
Who are you
of people.
advocating?
What's that?
Library.
I know, but to whom?
To the representatives.
Legislators?
Right, they have to be
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Different words, same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fine line apparently. I'm not quite sure what the line is, but
Our next meeting,
Yes,
um,
it's January what?
Well,
12th.
it's,
January 12th.
the 12th. But is it, we're gonna have Megan, down here, or Paul? Paul?
It'll probably be Megan.
Yeah, it'll
But I-
probably be Megan.
Okay, and, I don't know if she's gonna have something electronic to send out to us, I mean, if she can, that'd be great,
Mhm.
but,
On
it
the
would
changes
be-
from the last?
Yeah, the
Okay.
changes, that's certainly gonna be discussed, so that's one of the agenda items.
Yeah, the timetable, new
Mhm.
timetable.
Yep, well,
Amended timetable.
we're gonna officially vote on our plan forward at that meeting,
Sounds good.
so, yeah, and that, what? Okay.
At the January meeting?
Yeah.
We're gonna vote on what?
Which direction we're gonna take,
Okay.
well, we're gonna discuss the changes
Oh,
and
okay.
which, we've been looking at this building or Silesian, and we're gonna, I think we have to choose something at that meeting
Right.
to
and then
start things rolling.
In January, we should pick a date for a public forum.
Yeah, sometime in the
That's
spring.
a good point.
Yes.
Yeah, actually,
We need a spring date for that.
that-
'cause we're not gonna get
that
through
doesn't
so-
allow us to, I mean, it really doesn't allow us to make a decision, so.
What do you mean?
We really should have, sort of a post charrette to go over what we've been presented with,
Mm-hmm.
and,
Oh, so
Right.
That's what we said
sometime
we
in
would do.
March. Right.
Yeah, but
sometime
we
in
can't
March.
Make the decision on what direction to go if we haven't had that forum.
Well, how do we feel about this? Do we wanna have a discussion with the public on what we've gotten back from, the architect?
No, I think what we do
I think
is
we decide-
because we're the board, and then we explain ourselves to the public and what the process was and why we decided what we
Yeah.
decided.
Okay,
we
Because it's
present-
not a public vote to vote on what the, no.
No, it's not.
So if we do that, that might make it look that
Mm.
way, and we don't wanna go down that
okay,
road.
no, that's,
Right,
But
so
we
this is where we're going, and this is why we've made this decision, and anybody who's actually interested can show up for that meeting and
alright, so,
question and.
But we wanna show
Don't
them
think-
what the,
Yeah.
Right,
what
show them the options
the
and
options,
why-
and this is,
Right.
this is why we did not go with,
Right, renovating, a lot of people, well, why
Renovating
can't you
versus-
renovate this building? Well, here's the reality of renovating this building. And it would cost this, and it would do
Right.
this, and it would, right. And so we decided that for 1 million more, we could have this, and that's why we have the public meeting that way.
right, is it,
After we decide
is
what
it,
we're gonna do.
well, I would hope a good showing. I was just thinking, is it something that we have in the newsletter, what we're gonna decide upon in the January meeting to
No.
get people here? No.
Yeah,
We'd have a separate meeting, senior center.
right.
To-
That would
to
be
go
more
over this.
comfortable anyway.
Okay. Yeah, it would.
This is-
I know, I just
this is just-
thinking through the process.
Yeah, no, I get it. You're thinking out loud, I can understand.
Yeah, I know. Scary, eh?
I know, it's getting late with me too. But we make our decision in January and then we explain ourselves, I would say March just because weather, don't you think? And I don't know how much lead
we
time we
would,
need
I
to
would,
get the.
I would wanna stay away from spring break. That kinda, anything that,
Right.
where people are away, we wanna make sure the calendar
no,
is
but
wide
I'm just-
open.
Well, look at
So
the
we have to,
school
we need a
schedule.
school's calendar.
Okay.
and make
but
sure-
honestly, what I was thinking was February is usually the worst weather month.
Well, beginning of March, I mean,
Yeah, the beginning
it
of
comes in like a
March.
lion,
So the end.
goes out like a
Sure,
lamb,
sure,
so
but
toward the end of
February-
March,
We get
March.
pretty
I would say,
chillaxed.
right?
Yeah.
And
End
we
of
want
March.
people to be able to show up, we don't wanna have to keep rescheduling because of weather, so that's why it said March.
But we'll choose 2 dates. We'll choose a date and then we,
Like mid-March,
a
end
snow
March.
date.
Yeah, there you go.
'Cause
Well, that's not a bad
'cause,
idea,
yeah.
it's really not.
Okay.
That way people are,
Right.
we're not left like, oh, now we have
So
to
if we
re-advertise
Missed
all
it,
this.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
If we make a decision in January to go ahead with one of the two plans, then in February we could try to meet with the school board to show them the plan we have selected and indicate it's a preliminary plan to the extent that we might enlarge certain areas and decrease the sizes of other areas, and we'd like to get their reaction. And then in March, take that feedback from the school board and go to the public and show them where we are in the process and see what they say.
Well, maybe the liaison, the school board liaison to the library is who we would meet with, as you mentioned. Well, as you know, we know that they're knee deep in budgeting
Sure.
in February, but maybe we could reach out and set up a meeting with the school board liaison
They might have a subcommittee.
as needed. Well,
Yes,
they
that's-
didn't they
They're
tell us
supposed to
that
have a
they'll
liaison.
have a liaison when it's
If we
needed.
need one, they
Right,
will
we need
appoint
one,
someone.
okay. Yeah.
So,
Okay, so there you
So-
go.
so in January, Matt can call up
Sure. And then
the,
Right,
the
after our
clerk of the
January
board and
meeting.
say, we need to
Right.
set up a meeting
Right.
with whoever you folks appoint to discuss X, Y, and Z,
Yep.
some possible dates, and we go from there.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
I wanted to mention also, in the open meeting law, why do we do two privilege of the floor? Is there a reason why we do two
Open
of them?
and close.
Yeah, maybe something we spoke about during the meeting is what
Somebody
they'd wanna
talk about.
comment on.
Because
It's usually how
we
it's done.
don't ever have to respond to
We
privilege of the
don't
floor.
respond
We
to
don't.
privilege of- it's
Yeah.
not an interaction.
Right.
They just get to say what they wanna say, and we
Yeah,
thank them for
yeah.
coming, and they sit down.
But you
And
might
it's
not
the pre-
stop
it's
it.
the-
You're
I
not-
mean-
you're not
Respond.
prevented
That's
from
the
responding.
president,
Yeah,
the
Robert-
president
Robert
responds.
Freeman-
Right, we don't interact with them,
No.
the president is supposed to
Thank you for your
interact.
suggestions, we will,
Right.
or if they have a
Thank you for
question, we'll get
sharing.
back to
Right.
you on the next meeting,
Right.
and then at the
They're-
next
it's not
meeting,
a-
you
they
answer the
aren't part
question.
of the meeting, they're just here to,
Right.
And
right.
comment.
right.
So,
That's
so
right.
people who are here at the end of the meeting, they could actually just show up at the beginning of the next meeting, and make the same comments, because it's at the very beginning of the.
Yes, but this is actually a result of people waiving the open meeting law in our face 6 years ago.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's,
well,
there's
no,
no,
this is
there's
done
no
in-
requirement.
I think
But
this
it's-
is done
it's
in all meetings.
No,
All
I
meetings.
understand that,
Yeah.
but this
Village
is
or
called,
town
this
board.
is called, accommodating the public. We
Okay.
were asked to do it, so we accommodated them and we did it. And we have privilege of the floor at the beginning, and we have privilege of the floor at the
Yeah.
end, because people wanted to be able to tell us exactly what they thought of us at the end of the meeting, while they were still fresh.
And we appreciate that.
Yes, it was lovely. And so
Yeah,
it's
but
just kind of
there's-
still held on.
Other public bodies
Yeah,
have
I
one
don't
at
think
the
it's
beginning and one at the
unusual
end.
to do
They-
like
they-
that.
They
yeah,
do.
so.
But a lot
It's
also
not
unusual.
unusual.
No.
Yeah, but it's not, it doesn't take up
It's
much
not
of our
unusual.
time, so.
I think it's
I
more
don't see-
practical, if they
so-
wanna
Talking about it
discuss
more
something
than
that
we-
we discussed, it's more practical to hear that.
Or somebody
I
who's
think at
running
the end.
late.
Right,
missed the first
exactly,
one.
they missed the first
True.
one, they say
Right,
something at
right.
the end.
A lot
And,
of
and
good
the
ideas.
only thing
Okay.
that happens is the president says, thank you for your comments. If it's a question,
Right,
I
and
will have a
that's it.
question for you at the next meeting, an answer for you at the
Right.
next
We'll enter it
meeting.
in the minutes.
Thank you for coming.
Or
Right.
if they have to
There's
exit
no-
early, they don't have to wait till the end of the meeting, they can.
Right, exactly.
So it's.
There's no
So
back
it
and
was
Well,
forth.
less
the
about
president
coming.
can do more than say thank you for your comments.
But he's
And
not
the-
required
Yeah.
to.
No, he's not required to, but the,
Uh,
But
I mean,
it's-
you're dealing with the public, you're not trying to make enemies. If the person comes in and makes a statement and the person happens to be factually wrong, the president can say, you know something, you're operating on the basis of some misinformation. Matt can give you the information in his office, he's got
Right.
a file on that, and I'm sure he'd
Mhm.
be glad to share it with you.
Right.
I would,
You know,
I
you
would
don't
welcome
just-
this opportunity to crop
Yeah.
up.
Well, actually,
know?
the point is,
Yeah.
you can, you're just not required to.
Yeah.
So, because at certain points early on, it got a little belligerent, and so it was just, thank you for coming, thank you for sharing. You know, because there's no point in arguing with some people, and some arguments weren't worth having, but it's there, you
Yeah.
can explain or, you know,
Okay.
I don't see any reason
Okay.
not to cut it out.
Anyway, is there any reason to go into executive
No.
session?
No,
No, we're good.
No?
let's get his coat on, come on.
Then can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting at
Yes, you may.
9:09,
Yes,
made
you
by
do.
Bernie, I thought
Mhm.
seconded
And
by
Norma.
Norma, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
See ya.
Thank you.
Adios, amigos.